68% of teams say their leader's charisma is the single most critical factor determining their success. But what exactly is charisma? Many people assume it's an extraordinary gift, something magical, reserved only for those rare individuals who effortlessly draw attention. Yet what if charisma isn't a special talent at all? What if it's something much more powerful, universal, and most importantly, something you can learn to activate right now? Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, discovered something remarkable about human connection. Deep within every one of us lies a reservoir of psychological energy he described as psychic energy. Now, when I say psychic energy, don't misunderstand. This isn't mystical or magic. It's scientifically proven, measurable psychological phenomena that modern neuroscience validates through emotional contagion, mirror neurons, and the synchronization of emotional states. It's the reason you can walk into a room and instantly sense the mood without anyone speaking a word. Tony Robbins captured this truth perfectly when he said, "The force that shapes your destiny is the force of your decisions, fueled by the state you're in." Charisma, then, is not luck or personality. It's a conscious choice. Magnetic leaders have mastered the art of consciously managing their internal psychological state, influencing everyone around them. Here's something astonishing yet overlooked. Emotional states in groups synchronize in fewer than 5 minutes, meaning your internal energy silently but powerfully sets the tone for everyone around you. Whether you realize it or not, your mood, confidence, and energy level profoundly impact your team, your friends, your family without saying a word. The risk you face is not trivial. If you misunderstand charisma as some mystical, innate gift, you miss your opportunity to consciously inspire, lead, and profoundly influence those around you. So the critical question is this: will you remain unaware of your hidden psychological power? Or will you consciously activate the charisma already within you starting today? Carl Jung once famously declared, "The hero's greatest feat is overcoming the monster of darkness, the triumph of consciousness over the unconscious." On the surface, this sounds philosophical, maybe even abstract. But what if Jung's profound psychological insight is directly relevant to your leadership, your influence, your entire life? Let me share a true story you probably haven't heard, yet it's so powerful that once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Lema Gbowie was neither a famous politician nor a powerful executive. She was simply a mother, trapped in Liberia during a horrific civil war that destroyed everything around her. Most people in her position would surrender to despair, but Lema did something extraordinary. She consciously cultivated powerful internal energy, a deep psychological resilience, optimism, and courage. But why does that matter? Lema's internal state was so genuine and powerful, it resonated profoundly within those around her. Neuroscientists now understand this as emotional contagion, where mirror neurons in the brain instinctively mirror another person's emotional state. Lema's energy activated something deeply psychological within the women around her, igniting their courage and determination. This unconscious resonance with Lema's authentic state sparked collective action powerful enough to end Liberia's brutal civil war and eventually earned Lema the Nobel Peace Prize. Lema's power wasn't magical, it was psychological. Carl Jung would explain it as the activation of the universal hero archetype hidden in our collective unconscious, a dormant potential within every single person. Her energy, authenticity, and conviction unconsciously awakened heroic qualities within everyone around her. Now reflect honestly on your own life. Have you ever encountered someone whose presence alone shifted your mood instantly? If you've experienced that, share your story in the comments below. Your experiences highlight a powerful truth. Charisma isn't something you're either born with or without. It's a conscious decision to cultivate your psychological state intentionally. Every moment you delay making this choice, you risk leaving your true potential untapped, limiting your influence and impact. Remember clearly, the hero archetype Jung described isn't reserved for famous leaders or legendary icons. It's waiting within you right now, ready to awaken. The choice is yours. Did you know that over 93% of communication effectiveness isn't determined by your words, but by subconscious signals, your emotional energy, your physical presence, your inner state. It's a striking statistic most leaders completely overlook, obsessing instead about choosing the perfect words or developing elaborate strategies. But the truth, scientifically validated through decades of psychological research, is far simpler and far deeper. People instinctively sense authenticity, confidence, and genuine energy in a leader within seconds. Tony Robbins highlights this clearly. People are rewarded in public for what they practice for years in private. But Robbins isn't just referring to physical skills or intellectual knowledge. He's talking about consciously cultivating and mastering your internal psychological energy, the powerful inner state that Carl Jung described as psychic energy. Again, remember, psychic energy isn't mystical or vague. It's a scientifically supported psychological force that profoundly affects everyone around you through emotional contagion, mirror neurons, and subconscious physiological synchronization. Let me vividly illustrate precisely how this works through an extraordinary yet rarely shared fable from West African folklore. Once there was a village devastated by an endless drought. Crops failed, hope vanished, and despair shadowed every home. But in the heart of this despair emerged a young girl named Amina. Amina carried no magical abilities, no tangible authority, just an unwavering internal optimism and powerful psychological resilience. Initially dismissed by villagers as naive, her energy quietly began influencing others. Neuroscience calls this phenomenon emotional contagion, the subconscious synchronization of emotional states within groups happening within mere minutes. Soon, villagers unconsciously began reflecting Amina's optimism and determination. With renewed courage and collective action, they transformed their barren lands into thriving fields, bringing the village back from the brink of collapse. Amina didn't wield conventional power. She wielded psychological influence, activating the hero archetype hidden within everyone around her, as Carl Jung described nearly a century ago. Here's the critical insight. Charismatic leadership isn't about persuasive speeches or strategic manipulation. It's about consciously cultivating your internal state so authentically that it activates profound psychological resonance within others. Imagine clearly. Have you ever felt your entire emotional state shift simply by being near someone authentically positive or confident? Hit the like button right now if you recognize that feeling, because you're among those who understand the real psychological dynamic at play. If you neglect this deeper psychological truth, focusing instead only on superficial strategies or external skills, you risk permanently limiting your ability to inspire and influence others. But when you consciously cultivate and manage your psychological energy, when your internal state authentically aligns with universal human archetypes, you become more than just another leader. You become a psychological catalyst capable of profound, lasting transformation. Chapter 4. Bridging the gap between Robbins and Jung. Here's a bold truth most leadership training fails to address clearly. Teams unconsciously mirror their leader's emotional state above any instructions, goals, or incentives. Yet remarkably, few leaders ever consciously cultivate their internal energy. Simon Sinek clearly reveals leadership isn't about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. But how can you truly take care of others if you haven't first mastered the internal psychological energy you're radiating every moment? At first glance, Tony Robbins' practical approach, focusing on managing your physiological state to create powerful, contagious energy, may seem entirely unrelated to Carl Jung's psychological depth and archetypal theory. But consider this carefully. Robbins teaches leaders precisely how to cultivate powerful internal states through practical techniques such as posture, breathing, and intentional mindset. Jung, on the other hand, explains why these techniques resonate so profoundly, because they activate unconscious universal archetypes within people, inspiring authentic responses that superficial methods never could. Take the iconic example of Steve Jobs, a leader famously known for charisma, visionary ideas, and magnetic presentations. Many people mistakenly believed Jobs' charisma came from great speeches or polished presentations. But beneath that visible charisma was an intentionally cultivated internal state, deep psychological authenticity, passion, and relentless conviction. Jobs intuitively mastered the alignment of practical energy management, the approach Robbins teaches, and profound psychological resonance, the archetypal power Jung described. His presence activated hidden creativity, ambition, and enthusiasm in millions of people worldwide, without them even consciously realizing it. Here's the uncomfortable but necessary question you must honestly consider. Have you been unknowingly limiting your influence by focusing solely on superficial strategies and external skills? Imagine clearly what might happen if you continue neglecting the deeper psychological roots of authentic charisma, remaining unaware of your hidden psychological power. You risk creating a team that's perpetually uninspired, underperforming, and unconsciously resistant to your leadership. But here's the powerful, liberating alternative. Consciously integrating Robbins' practical state management methods with Jung's profound psychological insights immediately elevates your leadership beyond mere surface-level charisma. You won't just inspire temporary motivation, you'll authentically activate hidden psychological resources within your team, fostering sustained creativity, resilience, and extraordinary collective achievement. So I invite you right now to clearly commit to cultivating this powerful psychological energy. If you're truly ready to harness this extraordinary blend of practical energy management and deep psychological authenticity, share your commitment in the comments below. Your conscious decision today could profoundly reshape your influence, your team, and even your legacy. Chapter 5. Unleashing the collective hero within. What if I told you the morale, creativity, and productivity of your team depend less on your strategy or your skills and far more on the internal, psychological energy you bring into every interaction? This isn't just an inspiring idea, it's backed by powerful scientific evidence. According to psychologist Brené Brown, authentic connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. This energy isn't metaphorical. It's deeply psychological and contagious, a measurable phenomenon scientists call emotional contagion, driven by subconscious mechanisms like mirror neurons. Carl Jung revealed this hidden psychological dimension clearly. Beneath our conscious awareness lies a collective unconscious, a reservoir of universal psychological patterns called archetypes. Among these archetypes, the hero holds particular power during times of challenge or uncertainty. But here's the crucial insight most people overlook. Jung's hero archetype isn't about solitary courage or personal triumph. It's about activating collective strength, awakening dormant capacities within entire groups. This psychological truth was vividly illustrated by Lema Gbowie's remarkable story. Amid the devastating violence and despair of Liberia's civil war, Lema was neither powerful nor famous. She had no political influence or military strength. Yet her consciously cultivated internal state, her psychological energy, was so genuine it unconsciously activated the hero archetype within the collective unconscious of the women around her. Neuroscience calls this phenomenon emotional contagion, where mirror neurons instinctively synchronize emotional and physiological states across groups. Lema's psychological authenticity didn't just inspire. It awakened deep reservoirs of latent courage, determination, and collective heroism within everyone around her, ultimately leading to peace and reconciliation. Now, pause for a moment and consider honestly. Have you ever experienced someone's psychological state, like authentic optimism or unwavering confidence, instantly changing your own emotional state? If you've experienced this, hit the like button right now, affirming clearly you understand this extraordinary psychological reality. Emotional states synchronize in groups unconsciously within mere minutes, automatically aligning with the strongest internal energy present. Consider the implications carefully. The collective potential of your team or community isn't primarily determined by external resources or incentives. It's profoundly shaped by your psychological state. Here's the profound risk you face if you continue to underestimate your psychological influence. You unconsciously suppress the hidden heroism, creativity, and potential within those you lead. You leave untapped enormous reservoirs of collective strength that your consciously cultivated internal energy could otherwise activate. Charisma, in this context, isn't just beneficial, it's essential for unleashing the collective hero within those around you. Your leadership role isn't just managing tasks or setting goals, it's a psychological responsibility. When you consciously cultivate your internal energy, you authentically become the psychological catalyst, activating hidden potentials in others. Your presence moves beyond superficial motivation into genuine psychological empowerment. You become the hero archetype manifested not as theory, but as powerful psychological reality. Chapter 6. The choice that changes everything. Remember clearly where we began this journey. 68% of teams consider their leader's charisma the most critical factor determining success. Yet most people still mistakenly believe charisma is something you're born with, a mysterious talent reserved for the gifted few. By now you've clearly seen the truth. Charisma isn't magic or luck. It's a conscious psychological decision, a deliberate cultivation of your internal energy. Tony Robbins said it best. The force that shapes your destiny is the force of your decisions, fueled by the state you're in. Carl Jung provides the deeper psychological explanation. When you consciously cultivate your psychological energy, you're not just enhancing your personal presence, you're activating unconscious psychological patterns, the hero archetype, in those around you, inspiring collective transformation. Imagine clearly and vividly right now, what impact could you have if you intentionally cultivated this powerful internal energy every single day? How differently would your team, family, and friends respond if your authentic state consistently activated their hidden courage, creativity, and heroism? The potential influence you possess right now is extraordinary, yet most people fail to consciously cultivate it. The risk you face isn't theoretical. If you ignore this powerful psychological reality, you limit yourself and those around you permanently. Here's what you can practically do today, right now, to experience this powerful psychological phenomenon firsthand. After this video ends, take just 5 minutes to intentionally shift your posture, deepen your breathing, and clearly focus your mind. Enter your next conversation or interaction consciously, embodying this enhanced psychological state, and carefully observe how quickly and dramatically the response of others shifts. This simple act of conscious psychological management isn't theoretical, it's immediately measurable and transformative. Today, you have an extraordinary choice to make clearly. Will you continue treating charisma as something mysterious, uncontrollable, and beyond your reach, or will you consciously harness this proven psychological power? Remember, charisma is not reserved for special individuals, it's your conscious daily decision. Make that choice today, because your leadership legacy begins not tomorrow, but the exact moment you decide to consciously cultivate the powerful psychological energy already within you. So now I invite you clearly share your personal commitment in the comments below. Decide today, not someday, to consciously awaken your inner hero, to authentically cultivate your psychological charisma, and profoundly shape not only your destiny, but the collective destiny of everyone around you.